Episode number 357. A flash of terrible joy, but rapid as thought, gleamed from the eyes of Milady. However fugitive this homicide flash, Felton saw it, and stated as if its light had revealed the abysses of this woman that he recalled, all at once, the warnings of Lord de Winter, the seductions of Milady, her first attempts after arrival. He drew back a step, and hung down his head, without, however, ceasing to look at her, as if, fascinated by this strange creature, he could not detach his eyes from her eyes. Milady was not a woman to misunderstand the meaning of this hesitation. Under apparent emotion the icy coolness never abandoned her. Before Felton replied, and before she should be forced to resume this conversation, so difficult to be sustained in the same exalted tone, she let her hands fall, and as if the weakness of the woman overpowered the enthusiasm of the inspired fanatic, she said, "But no, it is not for me to be the Judith to deliver Bethulia from this Holophons. The sword of the Eternal is too heavy for my arm. Allow me, then, to avoid dishonor by death. Let me take refuge in martyrdom. I do not ask you for liberty, as a guilty one would, nor for vengeance, as would a pagan. Let me die, that is all. I supplicate you, I implore you on my knees, let me die, and my last sigh shall be a blessing for my preserver." Hearing that voice, so sweet, and so pliant, seeing that look, so timid and downcast, Felton reproached himself. By degrees the enchantress had clothed herself with that magic adornment, which she assumed, and threw aside at will, that is to say, beauty, meekness, and tears, and above all, the irresistible attraction of mystical voluptuousness, the most devouring of all voluptuousness. "Alas," said Felton, "I can do but one thing, which is to pity you, if you prove to me you are a victim. But Lord de Winter makes cruel accusations against you. You are a Christian, you are my sister in religion. I feel myself drawn toward you, I, who have never loved anyone but my benefactor, I, who have met with nothing but traitors and impious men. But you, madame, so beautiful in reality, you, so pure in appearance, must have committed great iniquities for Lord de Winter to pursue you thus." "They have eyes," repeated Milady, with an accent of indescribable grief, "but they see not. Ears have they, but they hear not." "But," cried the young officer, "speak, then, speak." "Confide my shame to you," cried Milady, with the blush of modesty upon her countenance, "for often the crime of one becomes the shame of another. Confide my shame to you, a man, and I a woman. Oh," continued she, placing her hand modestly over her beautiful eyes, "never, never!" exclamation, "I could not." "To me, to a brother?" said Felton. Milady looked at him for some time with an expression which the young man took for doubt, but which, however, was nothing but observation, or rather the wish to fascinate. Felton, in his turn as suppliant, clasped his hands. "Well, then," said Milady, "I confide in my brother, I will dare to." At this moment the steps of Lord de Winter were heard, but this time the terrible brother-in-law of Milady did not content himself, as on the preceding day, with passing before the door, and going away again. He paused, exchanged 2 words with the sentinel, then the door opened, and he appeared.